Friends, the one and only John Fugelsang.
Hi. Oh my goodness, should I clip this on? Okay, sure. Look how formal we are here at Free Speech TV. Thank you very much. A moment of silence for the repose of the soul of Steve Bannon. You know what this means? I get to see him around the halls at Sirius XM again. That's what this means. He's leaving the White House and coming back into my lunch cafeteria line. And believe me, the last thing you want at Sirius XM is to use the men's room after Steve Bannon. That's all I'm saying. It's a real, and again, I only say it because I care about Steve Bannon. I worry because he's not a healthy man. We know this. I'm not trying to be mean to Steve Bannon, but he looks like an alcoholic thumb, right? We know that. He looks like gout that caught gout. I worry about him. He looks like that guy in the office where HR has to give him a deodorant stick after one too many coworker complaints. You know, he's like the uncle that wants you to sit in his lap and you're 15. He's not a healthy man. So only with respect for the late Steve Bannon, and I'll give this eulogy again later in German. It's a real honor to be here at Free Speech TV. I have come to really admire and revere the mission of this ragtag band of rebels that is Free Speech TV. A couple years ago when Stephanie Miller's show began broadcasting through FSTV, I had the honor of guest hosting during Pledge Drive Week. I thought, oh really, Steph, you go on vacation in time for Pledge Drive. Let me do my best. And I was given counseling, tell personal stories. You know, these are great ways to get people engaged. And I was very thrilled. I think it was my second day. I'm bragging about this all over the building. I broke the Free Speech TV fundraising record set by Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman. Yes. And they have credibility. I don't. So it was really, really moving. And Free Speech TV has meant a lot to me over the years as a place where I love network TV. I've worked in network TV. I've worked in cable. I worked in deep cable. And Free Speech TV means a lot as a place where people can go to know that they are getting pure ideas from some of the greatest thinkers that's not been filtered through the corporate prism, where there's guys in offices saying, oh, you can't say that, that might upset a sponsor. With Free Speech TV, the viewers are the sponsors, and the viewers are the ones we have to make happy. The viewers are the ones who decide what content is and what's cool and what's not cool. It's really direct democracy television, and so I'm really honored to be here in person and drag the entire operation down to my level. For those who don't know me, I'm a comedian, I'm an actor, I'm a broadcaster. I host a show on Sirius XM, Insight, channel 121, which is sort of like NPR with penis jokes. I'm not allowed to swear here, correct? This is no swearing. I can swear? I'm used to Sirius XM. Howard Stern's culture has spoiled me, but I don't want to upset the riffraff that watch FSTV.
Do your best to be Louis Black.
Oh, Louis was on my show yesterday. We had a panel with Louis Black and Alan Zweibel, the great SNL writer who wrote Billy Crystal's play. And pretty much my drinking game word was fuck. So by half an hour out, I was done for the day. I've done a lot of television. I've done everything from being murdered on CSI to hosting America's Funniest Home Videos to being a VH1 VJ and doing programming with Paul McCartney and George Harrison. That was sort of my broadcasting grad school. Stephanie Miller's show is a great, for me, a great, unique piece of broadcasting because Stephanie does something nobody else does. Take the wacky, zany, irreverent morning zoo format and do something moral and political and smart with it. Something of service to the society that produced us all. And I love her positivity and I love the home she's found with FSTV. I've hosted my own TV show on Current, the late lamented Current. I've been a regular on MSNBC, on Fox News, on CNN. I was the guy on Soledad O'Brien's morning show in the last election who got Governor Mitt Romney's top communications director to call Romney an Etch-a-Sketch. And I still get hate mail for it from non-millionaires who wanted Mitt Romney to cut Mitt Romney's own taxes. I came into politics and political humor kind of a strange way. My father was a Franciscan brother. My mother was a nun. So people say, how could you be Christian and liberal? And I say, actually, I'm liberal because I was raised Christian. I go by what's actually in the Bible and not what the revoltingly fake, woman-hating charlatans that call themselves Christian leaders of this country pass off. It's tough. They'd rather worship Jesus as a God because it's a lot easier to worship him as a God than follow his inconveniently liberal teachings. But I was blessed with a father who was a teacher, was a social justice activist, who gave me a copy of the autobiography of Malcolm X when I was a teenager, who had pictures of Gandhi, Dr. King, Dorothy Day on the walls. To me, growing up in a religious and a liberal household, it always made perfect sense, because the message of Christ was that of service and of self-sacrifice, of putting the community above the individual, of love. Jesus was someone who was a peaceful, radical, nonviolent revolutionary who hung out with lepers, hookers, and crooks, who never spoke English, was not an American citizen, was anti-capitalist, anti-wealth, anti-public prayer, Matthew 6:5, anti-public prayer, never once anti-gay, never condemned abortion, which existed then, never once came out against premarital sex, technically, never called the poor lazy, never fought for tax cuts for the wealthiest Nazarenes, never asked a leper for a copay, and was a long-haired, brown-skinned, that's in Revelation, brown-skinned, homeless, unarmed, community organizing, anti-slut shaming, liberal Palestinian Jew. That was the model I had, a father in love with Martin Luther King, in love with nonviolent resistance, in love with America, the good and the bad, and teaching me to love my people, all people, my country, my planet, the good and the bad. That's why it's an honor to play to audiences like we do on the Sexy Liberal Tour, to do the kind of show I do and to appear on the kind of shows that Free Speech does. I've had a very strange journey as a broadcaster and a comedian. I've done a lot of stuff. I'm going to be doing a lot of very weird stuff coming up in the months ahead. But for me, it's more important than ever to get this kind of programming out. And even more than that, to raise awareness that this kind of programming exists. Every one of us have brothers and sisters and cousins and Facebook friends who would really enjoy this programming, would benefit from this programming, and in many cases don't even realize they get Free Speech TV. So whatever I can do to raise awareness, to say, hey, there's a TV station and a radio station all in one with the kind of ideas that you won't get through corporate news. I love corporate news. I watch all of it all the time. I watch CNN, Fox, MSNBC, Bloomberg every single day. But we all know the limitations of that medium. And when news has to get ratings, then you begin having problems and compromises. And that's why that kind of news is important, and this kind of news is important as well. And one of my hopes is to see the kind of stuff Free Speech TV does put on the same plane as the big broadcast channels, because you guys know it, you're here. There's stuff you just can't say on TV that you can say on FSTV. I predicted earlier this week, as soon as the American Spectator interview came out, I said Bannon's gone on Friday. Gone Friday. I said it on the radio. I said all the bad news gets announced Friday, usually between 4 and 5 p.m., so as few people as possible will notice it, and no one will read it in the papers on Saturday. Every time a different GOP Benghazi committee cleared Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama or Susan Rice, always on a Friday, they announced it. Anytime Scott Walker signed a corrosive anti-abortion bill that he knew would be overturned in a court, release it end of the day on a Friday. They fired Scaramucci on a Friday. We found out that they fired Reince Priebus at 10 minutes to 5 o'clock on a Friday. Scaramucci's wife divorced him at 10 minutes to 5 o'clock on a Friday. They dump this data when it can hurt them the least at the end of the work week. Free Speech TV doesn't sleep. And Free Speech TV is where you'll get the information that you might not hear elsewhere, because other channels are afraid of offending certain demographics because they have to watch their advertising dollars. I respect that. That's what we've agreed to with our public airwaves, and I'm so glad that a channel like this exists to balance it all out. So, Bannon's gone. In the case of the corrosive, repulsive, illiterate meat goblin, like many of you, I had the whole process of Bernie all the way. God bless him. I'm going to be doing my terrible Bernie impression on stage tomorrow night. And of course, that's the ideology we've been waiting for. That's the platform we've been waiting for. I get down when I see people I won't even call it the left. I'll just say anti-evil. I'll just say pro-love, pro-American people, pro-all people. The fact that we still have the Bernie-Hillary hate fest going breaks my heart every day. I'm so tired of watching mom's friends fight grandpa's friends. I'm so tired of the Margaret Thatcher Five-ish Finkel cage match. I'm on the side of anybody who recognizes that Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders are on the same side. Every day I get hate from Hillary supporters and Bernie supporters because I supported Bernie. When he dropped out, I did exactly what he asked me to do and supported her. I'm proud of both choices. Whatever your issues with Hillary Clinton are, and I know it's painful to vote for someone you only agree with on 70% of the issues. She was by far the best choice in this race for me. I've had Jill Stein on my show twice, but Hillary Clinton was by far the best choice. I vote, maybe like a lot of you, on a few criteria. The kind of judges they'll appoint, the kind of policies they'll have to help the middle class and working people, and general empathy. It was an easy choice. And for all of the shortcomings of the Clinton campaign, she got more votes than any white man in history for president, and more votes than any orange man in history for president. But she came in second. Trump came in third. Apathy came in first. 46% stayed home. 27% went for her. 27%, 3 million fewer, went for him. So there's a lot of work to be done. And I will always give Donald Trump a lot of credit for inspiring people to get in the game. All my friends who took their daughters to vote on Election Day, brought them in the booth for the first woman president. Now what do I tell them? All my friends said to me, what do I tell my daughters? I say, you tell your daughters they're in the game now. I don't care if they're 7 years old, this is their fight too. And I put so much faith and hope in children. It's kids who are winning over adult minds on climate change by sharing their science reports over the dinner table. It's kids who don't understand why homophobia or racism were a thing. It's kids who are going to bring single payer about in our lifetime. It's going to happen here. So I am grateful to this awful election for turning so many newsreader prompter monkeys into actual journalists, for inspiring people to learn through our judicial branch how the balance of powers work, and for the marches that I've been to, the Women's March in D.C. I went to, the anti-Muslim ban march in Battery Park, New York I went to with my little 4-year-old son. I'm inspired at seeing how much good has come from this. And it's part of the reason why I'm deeply proud to be here. So I've been very lofty and preachy already. And I could go on. I mean, I can alienate you on any terms possible. But I guess we're doing questions, and I mean, I'm happy to go off on anything. I do this for 15 hours a week on Sirius XM.
Do we have some folks with some questions they'd like to ask this way?
Hi, Robert.
What Democrat can beat the Republican as we go forward in the next presidential election?
Well, here's the thing. Mike Pence is all the evil, but half the comedy value. And 46, which the Secret Service already uses a code name, he will be much easier to beat than Trump because he lacks Trump's charisma. He lacks Trump's entertainment value. He's not fun to watch. You know, Donald Trump thinks because he got great cable ratings that means people like him. I remember watching a channel cut away from a Hillary Clinton speech to go to an empty podium awaiting Trump. There was one point last year where I thought I saw MSNBC cut from a Trump speech to another Trump speech. In reality, he didn't understand that most of us were hate watching. He's the True Detective season 2 of American politics. We just keep watching every week to see how horrible it is. Pence was finished in Indiana. He's not electable. And not only that, we're going to have something very awkward for the first time in my lifetime. For 2 elections in a row, it's going to be a crowded Democratic field and a crowded Republican field. Don't forget, we started off with 5 Democrats in the last race, and I wish Jim Webb had hung in longer because he was just an interesting, bizarre figure on that stage. There's going to be a lot of Democrats running. Obviously, I don't need to tell you guys there's no clear leader. I think if the election were tomorrow and Biden jumped in the race, everyone would say, let's get rid of evil stepdad and go for good stepdad. Kamala Harris is mother of dragons. Cory Booker seems to be trying to see how far he can get while pissing off the left. They're all flawed. Every candidate is flawed. No one's ever going to pass my purity test. No friend, no lover, no artist. Maybe Springsteen. Springsteen's never embarrassed me. I don't think, but he's, well, working on a dream a little bit, but generally, most of my idols have embarrassed me. No one's going to be perfect, and every choice we have in life is I hear this all the time. I don't want to pick the lesser of two evils. I'm not voting. No. Every choice in life is picking the lesser of two evils. Picking what dessert to have is picking the lesser of two evils. Not voting is the greater of two evils, and the most important thing we all have to do is get people to vote in 2018, the most important midterm of our lifetimes since the last one, where no one showed up. If you believe in climate change, LGBT rights, if you believe in a middle class, if you believe in preserving some kind of healthcare system that helps all Americans, hopefully, maybe. I don't know who can beat Pence. I know a lot of people can. We don't know how much money will be lined up to smear them. I know a lot of rich folks who held their nose and voted for Trump just because they wanted that 3% tax cut. Because the rich have had it tough in a long time for this country. I don't know if you know that. They'll fund anybody. And we're also going to look at the next presidential election. The Koch brothers will pour money into whoever's not Trump. So it's going to be another struggle all over again. Will it be 78-year-old Bernie Sanders? I'd like it to be a woman. I'd like it to be Tammy Duckworth, personally. She will run, but for me, when I think of who did this guy offend the most in that campaign, women, minorities, disabled people, and vets. Let's get all four in one, a disabled minority woman vet. To answer your question, I can't answer it because I got to focus on 2018. What happens with the House and Senate next year matters to our lives more. And the most important thing we can do is just get people to turn out by convincing them that your state and local elections matter so much more than who's in the White House. 10 times out of 10. Your state and local elections matter more in your lives than who's appointing Supreme Court judges. And, you know, this administration, nothing's happened. Once Pence has it, they'll cut taxes for rich folks, but, you know, not much is going to happen. The stain's going to stay there. Mueller's playing a long game. I've admired how the Democrats really came together on health care. I mean, they don't get enough credit for how the Democrats really were a united front against this AHC, whatever the hell this thing, this Republican health care bill was like a heckler in a comedy club mocking the headliner for 7 years, then finally gets on stage and has no freaking material of his own. Who do you like? Who do you think can inspire people?
Well, my answer to your question is, I don't see anybody out there, and I do think it's going to be Trump. And I do, and I think we're a generation of reality TV.
Yes.
And he is the best at that.
And keep in mind, Ronald Reagan was the first reality TV star to get the White House.
And
he sold cigarettes on TV.
And I just don't. I think whatever the Democrats are doing, I don't think they get how focused the big money is. You know,
they get it. That's why they're part of it. That's why they're doing it.
Well, we're in here in this little room. About a month ago, the Koch brothers had a conservative convention. Was it Colorado Springs?
At the Broadmoor.
It was loaded, and that just worries me that the Democrats don't get how the system works.
Senator Sheldon Whitehouse did my show not too long ago. He has a really good book now about money and politics, and he said that more than one Republican senator has said to him confidentially that the only way you're going to get rid of Citizens United, the only way you're going to get big money out of politics, is when the Democrats get as good at it as the Republicans, so then the Republicans can cry foul. I mean, these guys are hostages to their own creepy base. But all this stuff right now we're dealing with this racism and Nazism, in an election year, it's a losing deal for Democrats. You know, taking down Confederate statues, that's not going to win any Democrats any elections at all. It's morally it's important, electorally it's not. And it's bad in an election year. This will be forgotten by 2018, all the stuff we're fighting about now. But the Republicans, he's lost. By sticking up and running interference for Nazis, he will not get back. People who care about World War II will not go back to this guy. And keep in mind, he's never going to be more popular than he was when he won with 3 million fewer votes. He was beaten last time. He can be beaten again. I do not believe he'll be running for office. My hope is that he'll be either in cuffs or in a country with no extradition treaty. This is from JM. We watch FSTV because FS covers issues that commercial networks will not touch for fear of offending sponsors. Thanks for not having commercials. I agree. I mean, y'all are the commercials. It's amazing to me to watch it. And, you know, I'm raising a toddler, so I'm trying to keep him from knowing commercials exist in my normal life. The fact that your donations to Free Speech TV are what keeps it on the air, not big pharma money, not big oil money with that lady in the black pantsuit talking all about how fracking is so great. I mean, I have respect for people who play the game corporately, that's how it works, but I have so much respect for the grassroots journalism and information that FSTV does, so I agree completely. And I know it's not a question, but I can't praise it enough because it's direct democracy. And if you guys don't like a show, you don't have to send in your checks. And just imagine what it would be like if that was the case for Fox News. Any predictions as to how long this mobbed up sexual predator bully will stay in the White House? Well, as a sexual predator, I'm offended by the context in that. But, you know, I think I'd like to tell you that there's dairy products that'll last longer than this. We've all been wrong. Everyone's been wrong about a lot. And so it's scary to make predictions. I made a prediction that Bannon would go today. I didn't think it would be lunch hour. I thought 4 p.m. I don't see how he finishes it out. He's not going to be impeached. We all know that, right? He won't be impeached. He'd have to go below 50% with the base before they would. Our Republican brothers and sisters in Congress have a tough position to be in. They learned under Obama, if they worked with him in any way, Barack Obama pitched a jobs bill that was 60% tax cuts, everything they want, and they blocked a vote on it. They can't work with him. He called him out for it. But if they do their jobs, they lose their jobs. If you work with Obama on anything, you worked with the black guy, and you'll get primaried. And if you don't believe me, I've got an Eric Cantor Congress office I want to sell you. Because when Eric Cantor, the most obstructionist, dickish member of the House, can get thrown out by his own district for not being a big enough dick, and then they find Dave Bratt, who's twice the dick Eric Cantor was, and that's saying something. You understand the paralysis in our congressional Republicans. If they do anything to improve the lives of Americans by working with the other party, they lose their jobs. And that's not going to change no matter who's president. Donald Trump, if he had the right person manipulating him, could do great things. He might be the only one who could. If I was his advisor, I'd probably put a little bit of MDMA ecstasy in his Diet Coke every morning, and I would say to him, you want a good legacy? You want to just be in the history books for really helping people, just for your ego? You want statues made of you that are deserved? Walk down that hill and get enough Democrats and enough Republicans to do a public option. You could do it. And maybe only Trump could do it. Obama could have done it. They said we can't with reconciliation. Then they used reconciliation for ACA anyway. Trump could. He won't. He doesn't care. He's a narcissist. You guys know. He's a mendacious orc stool. He's terrible. I think that he's not going to be impeached because they won't impeach him because they'll lose their jobs. He'd have to go below 50% for impeachment. I don't think they'll 25th him because, quite frankly, I hope Mueller's looking into Pence as well. We know Pence lied to all of us about Flynn and the transition team. And whoever gets this job, you know, they're going to be like the comedian who had to follow Michael Richards that night in the Laugh Factory. It's going to be an awkward set. I think the most likely outcome, and I've been saying this on my radio show almost every day, is that we will wake up one morning and the news will tell us that he has declared victory and resigned. And we made America great again. I now leave the government in the capable hands of President Pence. It might be a sealed indictment. It might be a deal where you leave right now and you get immunity and we'll never tell. I think it's going to be like Sarah Palin, except she went from politics to reality show as opposed to reality show to politics, but he'll leave. We'll never know the real reason why. And then the challenge is going to be to keep our brothers and sisters from getting complacent once it's just another shitty Republican in the White House. Because I'm telling you, Pence is worse. Pence is worse than Trump. He's a worse human being than Trump. When you use Christianity as cover for legal discrimination, He's the most revoltingly fake Christian in the Republican Party, and that's saying quite a bit. I'll say that to the camera. Mike Pence is the most revoltingly fake Christian in the party. When you make a law that it's legal to discriminate and deny goods and services to taxpaying Americans who paid for the roads to your goddamn business, because you want to believe the Bible says somewhere that it's wrong to make a gay cake, let me tell you something. You won't hear any journalists asking Mike Pence, where in the Bible do you get this from? That was my whole point. Just ask him, what part of Christ's gospel dictates that men with men are bad? No part of the Bible says women with women are bad, by the way. And you cannot use any verse of the Bible to condemn or to same-sex relationships or discriminate against LGBT people. There's no part of the Bible you can use to discriminate against LGBT people. I'm writing a book about this right now. I know all the verses they use, none of them hold up. I can defeat any of them in 5 minutes. I used to go on Bill Maher and debate Jerry Falwell about this. That he passed this bill, and that Tim Kaine never brought it up in the debates. The one time someone could have brought it up to his face, and Tim Kaine didn't do it. That helped lose the election, in my opinion. So it's going to be more important than ever once he is gone to keep the pressure on, because I promise you, Mike Pence is going to be worse because Mike Pence is going to be more effective. And he's all the evil with half the comedy. And anyone who's that much of a homophobe but looks like a dominant daddy top in gay porn is good for comedy too. Who can beat Trump in the next presidential election? As I said, I don't think he'll be running. But I do think that I think Sanders could have beat him. We have no way of knowing how much they would have smeared Sanders, and the way he smeared Hillary Clinton, and the way the media allowed him. The way the media never brought up that she was cleared on Benghazi. The way the media never brought up that uranium sale to Russia was a lie. The way the media just let it up, bringing those women. The woman who accused Bill Clinton of rape, I'm not going to say her name, has been accusing Bill Clinton of rape to get on TV for 20 years. But the one time she went under oath, anybody know when? Ken Starr. And he didn't use her. Because under oath, she said he didn't rape her. And then as soon as that was done, and Ken Starr didn't use her, she went back to it. Trump put her in the first row of that debate to humiliate a woman for her husband's infidelities. I didn't see anyone capitalize off how ugly, how unchristian, how un-American that was. I think a lot of people could beat him, especially now that we know he's a complete bullshit artist. And it's going to be a moral test for Republicans of how much lies and racism they're willing to bear. But I think it's going to be Pence. And I think it's going to be a very crowded Democratic field. And I'm already grateful that presidential elections take 18 months. I know a lot of y'all hate it, but it's going to give a long time for people to meet a lot of Democrats, see who they like, see who inspires them, because the inspiring one will beat Pence. The one who makes us feel like we can be better, as opposed to Trump, who says, don't try to be better, look at me. I was born into this and I have no class and I'm fine. Believe me. And I've made it through the questions. I thank you all, and I hope we all use our social media a lot to let people know that free speech is here, and it cares about you a lot more than this administration, and it cares about Republicans a lot more. Because goddamn it, Free Speech TV is fighting for all non-millionaires in this country, for a decent society, for a thriving middle class. We know how to do it. Eisenhower did it. He was the last Republican to balance a budget and have a surplus. We could do what he did, the perfect storm of capitalism and socialism together, helping the rich, helping the middle class, helping the poor, being a lot nicer to women, gay people, minorities. We know we could do it. If we have the will, we have to lead. Thank you all for having me.